Hi guys, Attorney Brianna Robertson here, and I just want to talk to you guys about your legal rights that you have whenever you are encountering the police. A lot of people have probably heard these rights before, that you have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney prior to any questioning. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you. But through all my years of practicing criminal law, I have found that a lot of people don't exactly know what these rights mean. And because they don't know what these rights mean, a lot of times it gets them in trouble. So that is why I want to take this time to explain to you what these rights mean, so that way you can make sure that you use these rights if you ever encounter the police, and making sure that your rights are not being violated. And if they are, it gives you grounds for your attorney to help make sure they can protect you if it ever ends up in a court of law. So first, the right to remain silent. This means that you have a right to not say a thing to the police. You don't have to say a word. And that is your legal right, to not say a word. Because if you say a word, the second right says it could be used against you. So you have a right to remain silent. And if you remain silent, no, they cannot use these words against you in a court of law. If you remain silent, they cannot use that silence against you in a court of law. This simply means that they can't make it seem like you're guilty because you decided not to speak. They cannot do that. That is illegal. So no, you do not have to say anything to the police. That is your legal right. The second one says that everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Simply put, at that point, when you start talking to the police, anything you say is not going to help you. Nothing you say is going to help you at that point. That's what they're letting you know. And that everything you say, they're going to play it in a court of law and try to use it against you to prove that you are guilty. And this is why we refer back to right number 1, where you have a right to remain silent. In short, don't talk to the police. Don't say a word. Because most of the time, people get in trouble because they open their mouth. Even if they think that they're trying to help their situation, 9 times out of 10, they're not. Because at this time, anytime the police are starting to question you, they're only questioning you to try to find evidence to prove you guilty. They're not asking you questions or anything to try to prove your innocence. So everything you say will be used against you at this point. And that's what that right is letting you know. The other part of that is that you have a right to a lawyer prior to questioning, and to have a lawyer there during questioning. This means that before you answer any questions by the police, before they are able to talk to you, you have a right to talk to an attorney. You have a right to ask your attorney if you should talk to the police or not. And I don't know any lawyer that's going to say, yes, go talk to the police. It's probably very rare situations where we would say, yes, talk to the police. But you have a right to have an attorney present prior to talking to any police. You have a right to talk to one. And if they're questioning you, you have a right to have an attorney present right there with you while you're talking to the police. You do not have to be in that room alone with the police while talking to them. You have a right to have an attorney present. And so if you ever get caught in a situation, you can tell the police that you don't want to talk, you want to have your attorney. And most of the times, in all my years of practicing law, I haven't seen where the police keep questioning, and I haven't seen where they go and then get your attorney and then bring them in the room. Normally at this point, all questioning stops right at that point. So you want to make sure that you invoke your right to an attorney prior to ever talking to the police. The other thing is that if you can't afford to hire an attorney, one will be appointed to you. This simply means that if you can't afford to get a private attorney, they will appoint a public defender to come sit with you prior to questioning. And like I said before, I have never seen where they actually went and got a public defender in order to talk to you. They normally just stop questioning. But if they want to question you and you can't afford an attorney, you have a right to have one present there with you prior to any questioning. And this is not in the Miranda rights, but this is another freebie that you do not have, another freebie that I'm going to throw in there. You do not have to consent to any searches from the police. This does not mean that they're not going to search you anyway, because they are allowed to do pat downs to make sure that you don't have any weapons. But I always suggest that you don't consent to any searches. And if you make it clear that you're not consenting any searches and they search anyway, you now have laid the groundwork and the objection for your attorney to come after you to try to make sure to get that evidence knocked out if they did it illegally. So This is why I always say make sure you do not consent to any searches. Do not sign anything by the police. Do not sign where you consent to anything by the police, because you have a right to not consent to that and to make them go and get a warrant or whatever in order to legally search your stuff. This is the same thing with trying to come into your home. Do not consent to anybody coming to search your home. Make them go get a warrant before entering your home. You do not have to consent to that. So these are your rights that are in place to try to protect you in case you ever encounter the police. And you need to know these rights and make sure that you use them, because if you use these rights correctly, whenever you go and let's say you have to deal with your criminal case on the back end, it now gives grounds for your attorney to attack any of this evidence that they may have obtained illegally. So make sure that you know your rights, make sure that it gets protected, because it could end up saving your life one day. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office, the law office of Brianna C. Robertson, especially if you're dealing with any type of criminal charges. Please make sure you contact the law office of Brianna C. Robertson, because we are here and ready to help you and to help defend your rights. All right, thanks. Okay.